Today we have on the show Phil Brewster. Phil, you contacted me on Facebook a few days ago. You saw some of my videos, and you told me a really horrific story, something that happened to you in the 80s,
Yeah,
in New York City. And
yeah,
you are actually abducted, right?
yeah. I'm from Texas, and I was like 9 years old, and I started acting out after that real bad. I started like sneaking out to R-rated movies and stealing and getting a lot of trouble in Texas. And my dad, he got sick of whooping my butt. So he was like, "You're going for a Christian education from my brother." And my uncle's his name is Charles Brewster. He was first Presbyterian minister at Queens Forest Hills Church in New York City, and he was a minister there for like 40 years. He was a real good teacher too, and I guess my dad thought I like stopped sneaking out whenever I was in New York, but like I learned the first year in '85, I learned how to sneak out of his house, but I didn't have like a skateboard or any way to get around, and I didn't know the city, so nothing really happened in '85. But in 1986, I was the first day I got there. I saw on my uncle's TV I see antenna MTV was on antenna in the 80s, and in New York City. It was local because they broadcasted from New York City, so they had to put their signal on antenna also.
Not
And that's
everybody
why,
had cable back then.
well, no, my uncle, he had antenna.
Right,
So like
right,
not everybody had antenna cable. My uncle,
right.
so anyhow, I was watching on antenna streamed MTV Headbangers Ball, and the music videos would play, and below you could read these advertisements that read Hellraiser pre-release movie party. Clive Barker and Pinhead will be there this Friday night. And so like, sneaking out to R-rated movies was one of my favorite pastimes in Texas. And like,
Were you able to actually get into an R-rated movie? Because you were just a kid,
yeah,
right?
yeah. In Texas, I got arrested for it. Like, well, they sent that I have a juvenile record for it. uh, they took me back to my parents' house though. Uh, so anyhow, I had never been to a pre-release movie party, so I wanted to go. And like, I was a pothead, real bad, or like a real big pothead whenever I was real young, and like, I went after I seen those advertisements. I went skating around looking for weed. I went skateboarding, and my uncle was like, "Don't go without." If you can't hear me from yelling, don't go any further. And I
Right.
was like, okay. Well, that got me down to the local school, and I found some potheads around there, and got some weed from them, and we started talking about the Hellraiser pre-release movie party advertising, and they had seen them too, and so we were like, let's meet tomorrow. We'll see if we can't like start calling that number. And I met two kids local to New York City who wanted to go with me. They were a little older than me. And I thought because I was 11, I'd have a better chance of getting in with kids that were older than me. So we
Right.
started
Well, how
calling
old were they? How old were they?
they were like 14. One was between 13 and 15, and the other one
Right.
was between 14 and 16. Both
Right.
these kids died. They didn't make it out.
Oh my God.
Okay.
They were
Yeah.
abducted with you.
Yeah. They were abducted. We
Uh,
got into the van. Okay. So
you
the
got into the
number,
van. What van was that?
well, okay. We started calling the number, and it wasn't a buy a tickets line. It was a leave a message line, and we started leaving messages, and it said this Friday night. So by that Thursday, I called, and someone finally answered and asked us if we wanted a ride, and I said yeah, and I gave him an address close to my uncle's church, and because I knew my uncle would be in bed by 8, so like um, uh, we all snuck out to go to, we all met up. They didn't stay the white night with me. We met and then we skated down to the address I'd given them. And the guy on the phone told me that, a gray van would pick us up and there would be people in Hellraiser costumes inside the van.
Now this number you called, where did you get this number again?
From the Hellraiser pre-release movie party advertisement on Antennas Streamed MTV.
Okay.
Headbangers Ball.
Right.
And yeah, those advertisements, because see, the thing about it is those advertisements, even after I escaped, I went to this camp for like 3 weeks in Essex, Connecticut. My uncle took me there, even though I had been real hurt. He said there was an infirmary at the camp, and there was, and I was treated there, and I healed up at the camp. But I went to the camp.
You were hurt when you were abducted.
Yeah, I was hurt when I was abducted.
So now you're in this van, and they took you someplace.
Yeah, they drove us for about 30 minutes. Well, okay, so when the van pulled in, I didn't recognize everybody at the beginning. Most of the people that I saw, the masks that they were wearing demon masks that were open at the eyes and the mouth so they could see and eat the kids that they tortured.
People that were in the van were wearing these masks.
They were wearing these masks. One had a Baphomet horn demon mask. It was open at the eyes and mouth, and it didn't hide the identities well at all. I started recognizing most of them as on the internet after it occurred.
Right. You looked it up. So basically, so that people understand where we're going with this, you were abducted. You were abducted by Satanists who were about to perform ritual abuse and ritual sacrifice.
Right. And I was 11 years old.
You were 11 years old and you were with a couple teenagers. How many kids altogether when you got there?
It was 3. It was me and 2 others. 3
of you.
Yeah, it was me and 2 others. And we got in the van. When the van pulled up, I recognized one of them from the tabloids. He was wearing a bullhorn demon mask, and I recognized him.
You saw his face. You saw his face.
Well, you could see their jaws and their eyes, and you could see the backs of their heads.
So one of them,
you could see their body structure too, because they were wearing. Go ahead, ask.
What were they wearing?
They were wearing these like black robes, but they were tied real tight to their bodies.
So they already had the garb on. They already had their ritual garb on.
Oh, and the van, I didn't know what foam pyramids were for whenever I was 11 years old. But the whole inside of the van was decked out with foam pyramids.
Pyramids in the van.
Yeah. So
these guys seem like they were hardcore, but you say you recognized one. Where did you recognize them from? Like, where did you see him?
From the tabloids. He was known. Yeah, he was known as a millionaire playboy of New York.
Wow. Yeah, these guys, a lot of these guys are into this, man. It's more widespread than people realize. So you drove about a half hour. So then what happened next?
Well, as soon as I get in the van, I didn't notice that there was a guy in the passenger seat until after I got in the van and the van door closed. He was wearing the guy in the front passenger seat was wearing a Baphomet horn demon mask, and that was Klaus Schwab. And I didn't recognize him. Yeah, Klaus Schwab.
How did you know it was Klaus? How did you know it was Klaus Schwab?
His jaw has not changed in 40 friggin' years.
Wow.
And I recognized him on the internet probably around 2000. A guy named Alex Jones showed me on the internet. I don't know Alex Jones, but he showed me who he was, and I was like, oh, that's the jaw. And he was the last one I ever recognized was Klaus Schwab. Fauci was driving.
Fauci was driving.
Yeah, he didn't have a mask on. He enjoyed watching us get tortured from the rearview mirror.
Anthony Fauci.
Yeah, Anthony Fauci. As soon as the door closed, the guy in the bullhorn demon mask, he like, well, okay, Klaus Schwab, he had a gold ring on and he stuck it out as soon as the door closed. And it was a Baphomet horn demon, gold demon ring. And the guy in the bullhorn demon mask leaned forward and kissed it. Right after that, I get whacked over the head. And the two kids who got in the back of I got in next to the guy that I recognized, you know, and tried to touch his bullhorn demon mask. And like, he put his hand down, the door closed, and then he leaned forward and kissed the ring, the gold Baphomet gold demon ring of Klaus Schwab. He kissed it. And then, like, I got whacked over the head right after that and ended up in the back of the van. One of the other kids ended up where I was. The back of the van had one bench row seat, and two people were back there. And I ended up in the back. One of the other kids ended up where I was, and the kid who kicked and helped me get free, he was on the upper bench. So I was in the back in the bottom after I got whacked over the head. And I come to with my hands tied behind my back, and a full grown man wearing a bullhorn demon mask, ramming a railroad spike in my butt. Have you ever heard of adrenochrome?
Yeah.
It means adrenaline eaters. And what they do is they break the elbows behind the backs, and that gives them with like ratchet straps, and that gives them perfect access to the kidneys from the backside, where the your adrenaline glands sit just above your kidneys.
Right.
And they work in conjunction to make adrenaline. So,
right. So
like,
you're in pain. Your arms are broken, and they ratchet your arms.
No, my arms weren't broken.
You didn't get your arms broken yet.
No, I did not get my elbows broken. No,
But that's how they produce the adrenochrome in the kids, because they're torturing the kids, and
they took a set of ratchet straps out, one set, and they put it on they also pull your shorts down, and they'll plunge cocaine in your butt with inappropriate objects like railroad spikes to get your adrenaline racing real good. And I was having that done to me, and I got to watch the first kid and the second kid get their elbows broken together with a set of ratchet straps, and then they would tie a long cloth holding their elbows together, take the ratchet strap, and they put it on the other boy. By the time they were about to put the ratchet straps on me, the van stopped and backed in somewhere, and somebody, this guy, he was wearing, he was a fat guy, he was wearing a hamburger demon mask. He opened the back door, and they were about to put the ratchet straps on me, but they didn't. Simultaneously, when the back door was opened by the fat guy, the kid who was on the bench above me, like I was in the bottom of the van, he was on the bench above me. He kicked the guy in the bullhorn demon mask in the neck and knocked off his mask. And the guy who had opened the door caught his mask and then went for the kid who kicked, and the other snatchers went for the kid who kicked. They did not have our legs bound up at all, just our arms and our hands. And that kid kicked, and he had his friggin' elbows broken behind his back with us. The ratchet straps were still on him. It knocked the guy who was torturing me out, and all the other snatchers went for the kid who kicked. And I rolled out the back of the Hellraiser pre-release movie party child snatcher van at the entrance of where they were going to sacrifice us at. And I ran. A black lady about 3 or 4 hours later gave me a ride back to Queens. She kept on asking me if she could take me to a hospital. And I was like, no, take me to my uncle's house. He's a minister. And she did. She took me back to Queens. She
Wow.
knew exactly where it was.
So you were injured and you were bleeding at that
I
point.
was bleeding out my butthole, yeah, real bad.
My
And I
God.
hid in a dumpster for about 2 or 3 hours before like I heard somebody calling for me. The lady was like, she had seen something out her window, I guess. I don't know. And she
So
started
you
driving
escaped and
around.
got into a dumpster and hid in the dumpster for a
Yeah.
while.
And then I heard somebody yelling, hey, can I give a little boy a ride? She was yelling it out her window, man. And
Right.
like, as soon as I heard her voice, I just ran and she had a beat up old 70s model Honda. And I just ran in and got in her car and she
Wow.
took me back to Queens.
So this was a
Yeah,
terrifying
dude.
experience.
I'm sorry I'm starting to cry, but this
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's
So
horrific, man. That is just
yeah.
I mean, we hear about this stuff
I went I
and
went I went back and uh, I was scared. I'd been, I'd had my ass whooped several times for sneaking out in Texas, and I didn't want to get my butt whooped again for sneaking out my uncle's house. So I lied to my uncle how I got hurt. I told him how that my skateboard had gotten stolen, and that I gotten punched in the stomach. So he told me I had to go to the camp in Essex, Connecticut anyway. So I went to this camp for like 3 weeks. It was an Episcopal camp and conference center. And it was a good camp. I healed up a whole lot there. They got this crystal clear mountain lake. It was beautiful. But after I get back to Queens, I see those advertisements. They're still friggin' running, dude. And like, so I asked my uncle about it, and my uncle, he spoke fluent Hebrew, and he's a Presbyterian minister. He spoke fluent Hebrew and Arabic, and I asked him about the movie, and that was whenever he told me everything I needed to know about the Dybbuk box, Dybbuk, and its Hebrew pronunciation. Like the Y is an I and the BB is a VV, like trabajo or trabajo in Spanish, it's Dybbuk Divik, and it's well documented by the FBI that Satanists reverse everything. So what's DIVVOK reversed? KOVVID. So like, yeah, I've been watching these people, and I've been trying to report this. I've gone
COVID, COVID.
COVID, yeah, KOVVID means
Wow.
demon possessed item in ancient Hebrew and reverse, straight from the Hellraiser movie that I escaped from.
Wow.
So, like, I've been trying to report this stuff for well over 10. Really started trying to report it after after I recognized Klaus Schwab. He's the last one I recognized.
So you recognized him. You didn't know who he was at the time, but you
No,
recognized him after you saw him on Alex Jones, after Alex
right,
Jones showed his
around
image.
2007, I guess, 2008.
When did you realize that the driver was Anthony Fauci?
Oh, I saw Klaus Schwab and Fauci around the same time
In the
on the internet.
2000s.
Yeah, I had no idea who
And you
they
said
were.
that's the guy that was driving the
Yeah,
van,
yeah,
right? And that's the
yeah,
guy that was sitting in the passenger seat,
right.
right?
Yeah,
Wow. Well, we
yeah,
know they're Satanists. I mean, we know that, and we know they're up to this, But
yeah.
I mean, I talked to about a year ago. I talked to a satanic ritual abuse survivor, and she was basically David Rockefeller's slave, and her mother actually sold her into a satanic cult, and
I'm
the
in the smoke.
cult. Yeah, go ahead. The cult actually gave her to David Rockefeller, and she didn't know it was David Rockefeller until after he died. And then she
Huh.
saw him on the TV, and she said, well, that's David.
Yeah,
So we know that these people are Satanists, and we know that this is what they do. But you just happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, but you live to tell about it. you know,
Barely.
fortunate, barely.
Yeah, barely.
It obviously wasn't your time, man, and it wasn't your time to go like that. And I'm
I've been
glad.
trying. Hey, I've gone to for the last 10, 15 years. I've gone to the FBI building in Dallas. I've gone to Dallas Homicide. I've tried to tell these people this. They don't want to hear it. They run me off or just tell me to send it to them in an email, or tell me it didn't happen here. It happened in New York. So message them about it.
Well, these characters are too big for the
Yeah.
FBI to go after, if you know what I mean.
Well, I have, I've messaged like Alvin Bragg and, in emails and
Alvin
tried to
Bragg is
call them.
corrupt, man. He's
Yeah,
corrupt.
I know, but
I don't know if there's going to
yeah,
be that kind of justice for you in this, but there will be justice. There is a divine law. We know that.
yeah. Hey, for
their time
anybody,
may be coming. I don't know when.
I hope, man. I want to be there front row and center when it does. But
Demons, man. They are
yeah.
demons.
Hey,
they must have been the ones who ran the ad, right? I mean, they're running that ad.
I don't even think like the Hollywood actors or the people involved with the Hellraiser movie, they knew about it, because these ads weren't going across cable TV. They were local to New York City only.
I see. Yeah.
They
were local ads. Yep.
Yeah. So like, because it was on antenna. I'm a survivor, dude. I'm a survivor. The best word to describe me is I'm a survivor.
You are. And now it's time to tell your story. And I'm glad you contacted me with this, because this is amazing.
Hey, man, I like your channel a lot. I've watched a lot of the stuff you say. I haven't heard anything from you that I disagree with.
Great.
So
yeah, that's great. It's great to find people of like mind, because we're going to need each other, because they're talking about bringing those mandates back. I don't know if they're going to do that, but there's a lot of talk going on. Some places are bringing the mask back.
Real angry about that too.
Oh, I'm not going to put up with it. There's no way. This is round 2. No.
Yeah.
No.
It's no coincidence it's happening on this upcoming election cycle either.
Oh, of course. Yeah. They're hoping to, pull off round 2 of what they did last time. They are desperate. They're desperate to stop Trump.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if you're a Trump fan or not. I know people aren't.
But
they're desperate to stop him.
Trump, do you know who bailed Trump out when he crashed all them Atlantic City casinos in the 90s?
One of those Jewish
Klaus
guys,
Schwab
right?
bailed Trump out. Klaus Schwab bailed Trump out. He crashed a bunch of Atlantic City casinos in the 90s. Klaus Schwab bailed Trump out. Trump created this vaccine with Operation Warp Speed. He is very deep in this. So is Bill Gates.
Well, Bill Gates, no doubt.
They've all known each
Bill
other.
Bill Gates makes a lot of money from this,
Yeah.
Phil, thanks a lot for coming on and telling us this story.
You have a nice day, sir. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Yeah.